Warning: this video dives into strange and controversial celebrity conspiracies. Some theories are bizarre, some are disturbing, and most are probably not true. This is all for entertainment. Viewer discretion is advised. This video is sponsored by my new channel where we cover all things fringe and unexplained. You can find all timestamps and links down below. Enjoy the video. Fake celebrity deaths serve as the foundation for countless conspiracy theories. Believers claim celebrities stage their deaths for multiple reasons: escaping fame's pressure, avoiding legal troubles, or fleeing massive debts. The music industry allegedly helps orchestrate these disappearances, sometimes to boost record sales or fulfill contract disputes. The death events typically follow a pattern: limited public access to the body, rushed or private funerals, and suspicious medical reports. Insiders claim body doubles are used, or that morgue staff are bribed to falsify documents. Some theories suggest these celebrities receive new identities through powerful government programs normally reserved for witnesses. Evidence cited includes blurry photographs of sightings, inconsistencies in official reports, and the convenient timing of certain deaths. The most committed theorists suggest entire networks exist to help these celebrities live in secrecy, often in remote locations or countries with minimal Western media presence. Throughout this video, we'll explore several specific celebrity deaths that have their own dedicated conspiracy ecosystems, including the infamous Paul is dead theory coming up next. Paul McCartney allegedly died in a car crash on November 9, 1966, and was secretly replaced by a lookalike named William Campbell. The Beatles, their management, and British intelligence orchestrated this cover-up to prevent mass hysteria among fans and protect the band's massive revenue stream. The evidence exists throughout Beatles albums after 1966. The Abbey Road cover shows a funeral procession, John in white as the preacher, Ringo in black as the undertaker, George in denim as the gravedigger, and Paul barefoot like a corpse. He's out of step with the others and holds a cigarette in his right hand despite being left-handed. If you play Revolution 9 backward, you can start hearing "Turn me on, dead man." At the end of Strawberry Fields, John mumbles, "I buried Paul." It's been said that the entire Sgt. Pepper album serves as Paul's musical funeral, and the band symbolically creating a fictional replacement band. The real Paul had softer features, different ear shape, and was shorter than the replacement. Voice analysis shows distinct tonal changes after 1966. The imposter has played the role for nearly 60 years, with the occasional slip-up in interviews about memories that only the real Paul would have. The man who's been Paul McCartney for nearly 60 years isn't Paul at all, just a masterfully executed medical forgery preserving the Beatles' legacy and billions in potential earnings. The real Paul's body allegedly remains preserved in a specialized facility somewhere in Scotland. The early 2000s pop-punk princess Avril Lavigne supposedly died after her debut album, Let Go, skyrocketed her to fame. Struggling with depression following her grandfather's death, insiders whisper she was found deceased in 2003. But the music industry couldn't lose their new cash cow, so they did the unthinkable. Her record label quietly brought in Melissa Vandella, a doppelganger already hired to throw off paparazzi. The switch was seamless. Listen closely to her sophomore album, Under My Skin. The vocal timbres suddenly deepen, more mature. Physical changes appeared too subtle for casual fans. Her face slightly rounder, eyes a different shape. The evidence sits in plain sight. Album covers show different facial structures. Moles and freckles vanish between photo shoots. Her handwriting changed completely. And the real smoking gun, Melissa occasionally slips up in interviews, admitting she took Avril's place or forgetting details about her early life. The replacement narrative explains her dramatic style evolution and personality shift. The original Avril, a tomboy who hated makeup, transformed into a polished pop star overnight. Medical experts point to anatomical inconsistencies in ear structure and facial proportions impossible to explain away with aging or cosmetic work. Believers suggest the music industry's perfect crime continues in plain sight, with millions of fans unaware they're worshipping an imposter. It's believed that deep in elite medical facilities, technology exists to create perfect genetic doubles of high-profile individuals. When stars suddenly change their appearance or personality, it's rarely plastic surgery, it's replacement. The industry term is duplication therapy, a procedure where stem cells and accelerated growth chambers produce mature clones in months, not decades. The medical signatures are there if you know what to look for: subtle iris pattern changes, modified vocal cord structures, and microscopic surgical scars at the hairline where memory implants connect. Technicians call these convergence points. The most compelling evidence comes from celebrities who returned from mysterious wellness retreats with different gaits, changed handwriting, and inexplicable new allergies. Their blood work consistently shows anomalous telomere patterns, biological markers impossible to fake. Some performers have reportedly undergone multiple replacements, with each clone experiencing rapid cellular deterioration, the cascade effect that medical insiders desperately conceal. The original host's consciousness transfer remains the biggest hurdle, with memory gaps being the primary complication. This technology began as a military medical procedure for replacing critically wounded operatives before transitioning to entertainment figures as testing subjects. Marilyn Manson allegedly had 2 ribs surgically removed so he could perform oral sex on himself. This wild rumor exploded across middle schools and high schools throughout the 1990s, becoming one of rock music's most persistent urban legend. The theory gained traction partly because of Manson's shocking public persona and boundary-pushing performances that often featured sexual themes. The rumor was so widespread that Manson himself has addressed it numerous times in interviews. Despite his repeated denials, the theory continues to circulate decades later. Some fans point to Manson's unusually flexible stage movements as proof, while others reference his famously thin frame as evidence of the supposed surgery. No medical records or legitimate evidence has ever surfaced confirming this procedure has actually happened. The Obama secret Muslim theory claims that former President Barack Obama was hiding his true Islamic faith from the American public. The conspiracy gained traction during his 2008 presidential campaign when critics pointed to the middle name Hussein and his childhood years spent in Indonesia as supposed evidence. Conspiracy believers cite Obama's occasional slips of the tongue, like when he referred to "my Muslim faith" in an interview before being corrected. They also point to his policies toward the Middle East and reluctance to use the phrase listed on the screen as further proof. Despite Obama's well-documented Christian faith, church attendance, and public professions of Christianity, the theory persisted throughout his presidency, with various online circles claiming to have proof of secret Muslim prayers and hidden Islamic symbols in White House photographs.
Like this video and subscribe to Maker.
This conspiracy theory claims Kris Jenner had an affair with O.J. Simpson in the late 1980s, resulting in Khloe's birth in 1984. Theorists point to Khloe's different physical appearance compared to her sisters. She's taller and has different facial features. O.J. Simpson was close with Robert Kardashian, who represented him during his murder trial, and the families socialized regularly. The theory gained traction when former Kardashian household employees claimed Kris Jenner openly discussed having affairs during her marriage. Even O.J.'s own daughter Sydney reportedly told friends she believed Khloe was her half-sister. Adding fuel to the speculation, Robert Kardashian's later wives insisted he privately admitted Khloe wasn't his biological daughter. Kris Jenner has vehemently denied these claims on their reality show, while O.J. Simpson once responded to TMZ saying, "Congratulations are in order, but trust me, I had nothing to do with it." Despite the family's denials, side-by-side photos comparing Khloe and O.J.'s daughter Arnell show striking similarities that continue to circulate online, keeping this theory alive in pop culture. According to this theory, Elvis Presley didn't actually die on August 16, 1977. The king of rock and roll staged his death to escape fame and live in peace. His body at the funeral looked different. The nose was wrong, the eyebrows too thick, and he appeared to be sweating. But wax figures don't sweat. Multiple witnesses spotted Elvis at the Memphis airport shortly after his death, boarding a flight to Buenos Aires. His middle name was misspelled on his tombstone, Aaron instead of Aaron, something the real Elvis would never have allowed. The death certificate itself contains numerous inconsistencies. His life insurance policy worth millions was never cashed. Fans continue finding Elvis sightings decades later, from Michigan to Missouri. Some claim he became an undercover DEA agent, explaining why his badge was never found after his death. The family keeps the exact cause of death private, convenient cover for a man who wanted to disappear. His estate continues generating massive revenue, and some believe Elvis still collects his share through secret financial channels. Kurt Cobain's official cause of death was self-inflicted gunshot wound, but many believe the Nirvana frontman was actually murdered. The most prominent theory points to his wife Courtney Love as the mastermind behind his death. Supporters highlight suspicious elements like the high levels of heroin in his system that would have incapacitated him, making it nearly impossible to operate a shotgun. The conspiracy deepens with former Seattle Police Chief Norm Stamper admitting years later that evidence in the case should have been processed differently. Private investigator Tom Grant, hired by Love herself, became one of the biggest voices claiming foul play after finding inconsistencies in the crime scene and witness testimonies. The missing pages from Cobain's suicide note raise further questions. The beginning sounds like a retirement letter, while only the final lines reference ending his life. Handwriting experts have questioned whether these crucial last lines were written by someone else. Adding fuel to the fire, the shotgun used had no fingerprints, despite no evidence Cobain wore gloves. Several key witnesses reported Love looking for a hitman in the months before Cobain's death. The case remains officially closed despite these unanswered questions that continue to haunt music history. The 27 Club is a group of influential musicians and artists who all died at exactly 27 years old. The core members include Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, Jim Morrison, Kurt Cobain, and Amy Winehouse. Many died under mysterious circumstances, drug overdoses with inconsistent autopsy reports, unexplained disappearances before bodies were found, and strange coincidences in timing. What makes this truly disturbing is how many showed similar behaviors in their final days, writing dark material, making eerie statements about not living past 27, and experiencing sudden personality changes. Some theorists believe these artists made Faustian bargains for fame, with payment due at 27. Others point to statistical anomalies in how many iconic musicians die specifically at this age compared to 26 or 28. Deeper analysis reveals weird connections between their deaths. Some believe these patterns suggest an organized cult targeting musicians who reached certain levels of cultural influence, with their deaths serving as ritual sacrifices. Free Britney was a massive fan movement and conspiracy theory claiming Britney Spears was being held captive by her own conservatorship. Fans believed Britney's social media posts contained hidden distress signals. Wearing yellow meant she needed help, while blue clothing was a coded response to fan questions. The theory gained serious traction when fans noticed Britney's Instagram captions becoming increasingly erratic, with odd emoji patterns that some interpreted as Morse code or cries for assistance. Her occasional dance videos were scrutinized for hidden messages, with particular movements supposedly indicating she was being monitored or controlled. Many Free Britney supporters pointed to the suspicious timing of her conservatorship beginning right after her very public 2007 breakdown, suggesting powerful people in the music industry orchestrated it to control her massive fortune and prevent certain truths from being revealed. The most extreme versions claimed Britney was being drugged, forced to perform against her will, and that her phone calls were monitored. Some believed her management team was posting old content pretending to be new to maintain the illusion she was fine. What made this conspiracy unique was that substantial elements of it eventually proved true when Britney testified in court about the abusive nature of her conservatorship, leading to its termination in 2021. EMINEM replaced is the belief that the real Marshall Mathers died around 2006 and was replaced by a clone or lookalike. Proponents point to changes in his appearance, voice, and musical style as evidence that the current EMINEM is not the original artist. The theory suggests the music industry couldn't afford to lose one of its biggest stars, so they found a similar-looking performer to take his place. Believers claim you can spot differences in facial structure, eye color, and even height between pre-2006 and post-2006 EMINEM. Some versions of the theory claim the original EMINEM struggled with substance issues that led to his disappearance, while others suggest a more sinister plot involving the Illuminati. The most dedicated conspiracy researchers point to lyrics in his songs as hidden messages about the switch, especially in tracks where he references feeling like a different person or being controlled by outside forces. The dramatic shift in his appearance and musical approach during his hiatus is considered the smoking gun by those who believe the real Slim Shady is long gone. Tupac still alive is the enduring conspiracy theory that rapper Tupac Shakur faked his death in 1996 and is living in secret somewhere. After being shot in Las Vegas, many fans noticed suspicious details surrounding his death: the lack of a funeral photo, his cremation happening just one day after his passing, and the fact that no murder suspects were ever convicted. Believers point to Tupac's album, The Don Killuminati, The 7-Day Theory, released under the alias Machiavelli, a reference to Niccolo Machiavelli, who allegedly wrote about faking one's death to fool enemies. The album cover shows Tupac crucified, suggesting a resurrection narrative. Countless sightings have been reported over the years in Cuba, Malaysia, and New Zealand. Some claim Suge Knight, the former CEO of Death Row Records, helped Tupac escape to avoid mounting tensions between East and West Coast rappers. Others claim the rapper took on the identity of Akil the MC. The most compelling evidence for believers is the volume of music released after his supposed death, over 150 songs, suggesting he recorded them while in hiding. Many theorists believe Tupac grew tired of fame and threats to his life, choosing to disappear and observe his legacy from afar. The mystery continues to fuel speculation decades later. Drake is an industry plant theory suggests the Canadian rapper's rise to fame was orchestrated by music industry executives who propped him up from the beginning. Unlike artists who struggle for years, Drake seemingly appeared with major label backing and industry connections overnight. The theory points to Drake's early career in Canadian teen drama Degrassi, providing him with acting income and industry contacts that most struggling rappers don't have. His immediate signing to Lil Wayne's Young Money Entertainment without releasing much independent music raised eyebrows among conspiracy theorists. Critics note how Drake's first mixtape, So Far Gone, received unusual mainstream attention and radio play despite being technically an independent release. This level of promotion typically requires significant industry backing. Theorists also point to Drake's perfectly crafted image transformation from TV actor to hardcore rapper, suggesting marketing teams carefully designed this transition rather than it developing organically. The conspiracy gained traction when people began examining Drake's family connections. His supposed humble beginnings didn't align with having an established musician father, Dennis Graham, who played drums for Jerry Lee Lewis, and alleged connections to various music industry figures. Unlike most rappers who build grassroots followings, Drake seemed to bypass the traditional come-up, fueling speculation that his entire career was pre-planned by industry executives seeking to manufacture the perfect crossover hip-hop star. The Kurt Cobain and David Geffen conspiracy theory claims the Nirvana frontman was murdered by music executive David Geffen rather than dying by self-deletion in 1994. This theory centers on a supposed conflict over Cobain's desire to leave Geffen Records. Believers point to Geffen's alleged concern that Cobain's departure would cost his company millions in future album sales and touring revenue. The conspiracy suggests Geffen hired someone to stage Cobain's death as a self-deletion to prevent him from breaking his contract and potentially joining another label. Proponents highlight the suspicious timing of Cobain's death coming right when he was reportedly planning to leave the music industry altogether. Some versions claim Cobain's farewell note was forged, pointing to handwriting inconsistencies, especially in the final lines that specifically mention retiring from music. The theory remains completely unsubstantiated with no credible evidence linking Geffen to Cobain's death, yet continues circulating in darker corners of music conspiracy circles decades later. Room 23 is a conspiracy theory centered around a supposed secret operation run out of a penthouse in the Century City area of Los Angeles. This location allegedly served as a high-end gathering spot where powerful Hollywood figures and celebrities engaged in inappropriate activities that were secretly recorded for blackmail purposes. The theory gained traction after model Diana Jenkins published a coffee table book featuring provocative photos of celebrities taken in a hotel room. Conspiracy theorists claim this book wasn't just art, but actually a catalog advertising services to elite clientele. According to the theory, numerous A-list celebrities were either involved in the operation or were victims of it. The conspiracists believe evidence can be found in certain celebrities' behavioral changes, sudden career advancements, or unexplained wealth. Some versions of the theory connect Room 23 to larger conspiracy networks involving political figures and international trafficking operations. What makes this theory persistent is how it ties into broader Hollywood conspiracy narratives about the dark underbelly of the entertainment industry and the price of fame. The actual evidence for Room 23's existence as described in the conspiracy is virtually non-existent, yet it continues to circulate in conspiracy communities as a symbol of hidden power structures in Hollywood. The conspiracy theory Alex Jones is Bill Hicks suggests that conspiracy theorist Alex Jones is actually comedian Bill Hicks, who supposedly faked his death in 1994. Proponents point to physical similarities between the two men and claim that Hicks was recruited by the CIA to become Jones, creating a controlled opposition figure who appears to expose government secrets while actually misdirecting the public. Some theorists claim to have identified the exact moment of the transition, pointing to Jones's early radio appearances in 1996, soon after Hicks's reported passing. They analyze voice patterns, facial structures, and even dental records in elaborate YouTube breakdowns. The theory gained traction when old footage surfaced of Hicks, joking about how easy it would be to control people through fear, something Jones later built his entire career around. Both men have connections to Austin, Texas, and shared producer Kevin Booth, which conspiracy theorists see as more than coincidence. Critics point out that Jones was actually on air before Hicks's death, and the two men were documented existing simultaneously, but believers dismiss this evidence as easily fabricated. Courtney Love ties to MKUltra suggests that the whole frontwoman was a subject in secret CIA mind control experiments. The theory claims Love's father, Hank Harrison, allegedly had connections to various intelligence agencies and fringe groups, potentially facilitating her involvement in the notorious government program. Proponents point to Love's chaotic behavior, public meltdowns, and seemingly erratic personality shifts as evidence of programming gone wrong. They also note her close relationships with powerful Hollywood figures and music industry elites as suspicious connections that allowed her handlers to monitor and control her. Some versions of this theory extend further, suggesting Love was programmed as part of a larger operation to infiltrate the grunge scene and ultimately eliminate Kurt Cobain when he became too rebellious against the music industry establishment. The most extreme variants claim her daughter Frances Bean was born into this system, explaining why custody battles were so intense, They weren't just about a child, but about control of the next generation subject. The theory connects to broader conspiracies about MKUltra's continuation well beyond its official termination date, with celebrities being prime targets for experimental mind control techniques. The P. Diddy murder triangle conspiracy claims Sean Diddy Combs orchestrated the deaths of 3 iconic music figures, Tupac Shakur, Notorious B.I.G., and Aaliyah. Proponents point to Diddy's rise in the music industry coinciding with the removal of his competition. The theory suggests Diddy hired hitmen to eliminate Tupac in 1996 during the height of the East Coast-West Coast rap rivalry. When Biggie was taken out months later, conspiracy theorists believe it wasn't retaliation, but actually Diddy eliminating his own artist to redirect suspicion and gain sympathy. Some versions claim Biggie had discovered Diddy's involvement in Tupac's death. The theory extends to R&B singer Aaliyah, suggesting Diddy arranged her plane crash in 2001 because she knew too much about both previous incidents through her connections to R. Kelly and DMX. Believers note Diddy's empire expanded dramatically following these deaths and point to his alleged connections to street elements who could carry out such acts. The lack of resolved investigations into these deaths has only fueled speculation about who really benefited from silencing these talents at the peak of their careers. The Chris Cornell, Chester Bennington, and Avicii murder conspiracy theory suggests these 3 musicians were silenced because they were working on a documentary exposing Jeffrey Epstein's trafficking network. All 3 artists were found deceased within a relatively short time frame between 2017 and 2018. Cornell and Bennington's deaths were ruled as self-deletions, while Avicii's was attributed to self-harm. Conspiracy theorists point out these men were all involved in anti-trafficking activism. The theory claims Cornell had founded a charity to protect vulnerable children and was gathering footage for an exposé. After his death, Bennington supposedly continued the project, only to meet the same fate 2 months later, on what would have been Chris Cornell's birthday. The conspiracy gained traction because of the suspicious timing, the artist's anti-trafficking work, and the belief that powerful figures connected to Epstein would eliminate anyone threatening to expose them. Marilyn Monroe was murdered. The official story claims Monroe died from a barbiturate overdose in 1962, but many believe powerful figures had her eliminated to protect damaging secrets. Phone records from the night of her death mysteriously disappeared. Her housekeeper changed her story multiple times about finding the body. The actress allegedly had affairs with both President John F. Kennedy and his brother Robert, potentially gaining access to classified information about government operations. Her personal diary, which some claim contained sensitive political information, vanished after her death. Toxicology reports showed extremely high levels of Nembutal in her system, but no pills were found in her stomach, suggesting the drugs may have been administered differently. Some theories suggest she was given a barbiturate enema to make it appear as a self-deletion. Former CIA operatives have hinted at involvement in her death, with wiretap recordings of her home allegedly destroyed shortly after she passed. Her psychiatrist's notes from their final session were never recovered. The Kennedy connection remains the most compelling aspect. Monroe supposedly threatened to go public about her affairs with the brothers, creating a national security risk that powerful people couldn't allow to materialize. The Michael Jackson Dave and Jack Crooner theory suggests that the King of Pop never actually died in 2009, but instead faked his death and assumed new identities. Dave was a burn victim who Michael had befriended years before his supposed passing. Conspiracy theorists point to Dave's interview on Larry King just after Michael's death, noting his unusual mannerisms, voice patterns, and facial structure as evidence it was actually Jackson in disguise. The timing of the interview, combined with Dave's eloquent speaking style, fueled speculation that this was Michael's first public appearance after staging his self-deletion. Jack Crooner emerged years later as another suspected Jackson identity. Videos of this mysterious performer showing similar dance moves, vocal techniques, and body language to the pop icon circulated online, convincing many believers that Jackson had simply transformed himself once again. The theory gained traction when fans noted that both Dave and Jack Crooner were never seen in public before Michael's reported death, with some claiming advanced prosthetics and makeup techniques were used to complete the transformation. Supporters of this theory also point to Jackson's history of disguises, his financial troubles before death, and his well-documented fear of aging in the spotlight as motivation for this elaborate disappearing act. The Kevin Sullivan killed Chris Benoit theory claims that former wrestler and booker Kevin Sullivan murdered WWE superstar Chris Benoit and his family in 2007, not Benoit himself, as officially reported. Proponents of this theory point to the professional history between Sullivan and Benoit, as Sullivan's ex-wife Nancy later married Benoit after an on-screen wrestling storyline turned into a real-life relationship. The conspiracy suggests Sullivan harbored a decades-long grudge and orchestrated the deaths to appear as though Benoit committed the acts himself. Theorists cite supposed inconsistencies in the timeline, claims about the crime scene, and speculation about Benoit's physical and mental state. Law enforcement thoroughly investigated the case and found extensive evidence supporting their conclusion that Benoit was responsible. Toxicology reports showed Benoit had been using substances that could potentially affect judgment and behavior. Despite no credible evidence supporting the Sullivan theory, it continues to circulate among wrestling fans who find the official explanation difficult to accept given Benoit's reputation prior to the tragedy. The Ultimate Warrior replacement theory suggests that the original wrestler died sometime in the early 1990s and was secretly replaced by fellow wrestler Kerry Von Erich. Fans point to noticeable physical differences after Warrior's 1992 return, different muscle definition, slightly altered facial features, and a change in his signature running style. The replacement supposedly happened during Warrior's absence from WWE, providing the perfect opportunity for a covert switch. Adding fuel to this conspiracy, Warrior's voice seemed different in later appearances, and his in-ring performance showed subtle technical changes that matched Von Erich's known wrestling style. The theory gained traction because both men had similar physiques, and Von Erich was available after leaving WCW. Some believers claim WWE orchestrated the switch to maintain the marketable Warrior character while hiding the original performer's passing. Of course, the conspiracy falls apart because Kerry Von Erich self-deleted in 1993, while the Warrior continued appearing until his actual documented passing in 2014. But within wrestling's most dedicated conspiracy circles, some still insist multiple replacements occurred over the years. Frank Sinatra's mafia connections run deeper than most people realize. The legendary crooner maintained relationships with notorious mob figures throughout his career, including close friendships with Lucky Luciano and Sam Giancana. FBI files on Sinatra spanned over 2,000 pages, detailing his role as a courier delivering briefcases of cash between mob bosses. His famous Rat Pack performances at the Sands Hotel were reportedly financed with laundered mob money. The mobsters didn't just admire Sinatra's voice, they used him. When Sinatra's career hit a slump in the early 1950s, it wasn't talent alone that secured him the career-saving role in From Here to Eternity. Rumors persist that Giancana personally threatened movie producers with violence to ensure Sinatra got the part. Even Sinatra's signature microphone technique, holding it close and tilted, wasn't just style. Some claim it developed as a way to hide his conversations when mobsters approached him on stage to exchange information during performances. The FBI never managed to pin anything concrete on Sinatra despite decades of surveillance, leading many to believe he mastered the art of operating just beyond the reach of the law. Phil Spector murder charges involves one of music's most brilliant producers becoming entangled in a dark web of violence. The legendary Wall of Sound creator had a disturbing history with firearms long before actress Lana Clarkson's body was found in his mansion in 2003. Multiple women came forward with similar stories, Spector waving guns around, threatening them, and holding them hostage when they tried to leave his home. These incidents were eerily similar to what allegedly happened the night Clarkson died. The conspiracy theory suggests Spector's powerful music industry connections helped keep earlier incidents quiet and delayed justice for years. His first trial ended in a hung jury despite forensic evidence showing Clarkson couldn't have shot herself. Some theorists point to strange behavior from Spector's driver, initially telling police Spector said, "I think I killed somebody," before changing his testimony. The most extreme version claims Spector was protected by a Hollywood code of silence that only broke when Clarkson's case became too public to contain. The Charles Manson and Beach Boys connection centers on cult leader Manson's brief music career and relationship with Beach Boys drummer Dennis Wilson. In 1968, Dennis Wilson picked up 2 female hitchhikers who were Manson family members, eventually leading to Manson and his followers moving into Wilson's Pacific Palisades mansion. Wilson was genuinely impressed by Manson's musical abilities and introduced him to industry figures. The Beach Boys even recorded Manson's song "Cease to Exist," though they changed the title to "Never Learn Not to Love," and Dennis took sole songwriting credit. Manson became increasingly volatile when his music career stalled. He reportedly threatened Wilson with a bullet and left a dead animal on his bed after the songwriting credit incident. Wilson eventually abandoned his own home to escape the Manson family, who had completely taken over the property. The association ended before the Tate LaBianca killings, but those murders later cast a dark shadow over this strange musical connection. John Lennon watched by FBI. The former Beatles member was under intensive FBI surveillance for years due to his anti-war activism and political views. The FBI compiled a 281-page dossier on Lennon beginning in 1971, monitoring his phone calls, tracking his movements, and infiltrating his inner circle. The surveillance was personally ordered by President Nixon, who feared Lennon could disrupt his re-election campaign. Nixon even tried to have Lennon deported from the United States. Government agents followed Lennon constantly, photographing him with telephoto lenses and recording his conversations. They placed informants among his friends and associates who reported back on his activities and plans. Some theorists believe this surveillance never actually stopped, and that government entities may have been involved in Lennon's death. The files remained classified until the 1990s, when portions were finally released after legal battles. The most extreme versions of this theory suggest Lennon's shooter was programmed or influenced by government mind control techniques to eliminate a prominent anti-establishment voice. Backmasking is the conspiracy theory that musicians hide secret messages in their songs that can only be heard when played backward. The practice gained notoriety in the 1970s when religious groups claimed rock bands were inserting satanic instructions into their music. Led Zeppelin's Stairway to Heaven became the poster child for these accusations, with conspiracy theorists insisting the lyrics, "If there's a bustle in your hedgerow, don't be alarmed now," contained the backward message, "Oh, here's to my sweet Satan." The Beatles fueled these theories unintentionally when they actually did include backward recordings on their Revolver album. This legitimate creative technique soon morphed into paranoia about mind control and subliminal messaging. Lawmakers even attempted to pass legislation requiring warning labels on albums suspected of containing backward messaging. The PMRC, Parents Music Resource Center campaign of the 1980s, further legitimized these fears. The truth? Scientific studies have shown the human brain often creates recognizable patterns from random noise, especially when told what to listen for. Despite this, the search for hidden backward messages continues among conspiracy theorists today, with everyone from Britney Spears to Eminem accused of hiding dark secrets in their tracks. The Dark Side of the Moon sync is a famous conspiracy theory claiming Pink Floyd's 1973 album, Dark Side of the Moon, was deliberately designed to synchronize perfectly with the 1939 film The Wizard of Oz. When you start the album precisely at the third roar of the MGM Lion, countless synchronicities emerge. Dorothy balances on a fence during Breathe falls off exactly when the lyrics mention balanced on the biggest wave. The transition to the song Money happens just as the film shifts from black and white to color. The heartbeat sounds from the album seemingly match with the Tin Man's movements, while Brain Damage plays during scenes focusing on the Scarecrow who needs a brain. Band members have consistently denied intentionally creating these synchronicities, but the phenomenon became so widespread that fans call it the dark side of the rainbow. The L.A.P.D. shot Biggie theory suggests corrupt Los Angeles police officers were directly involved in the murder of the notorious rapper in 1997. The conspiracy centers on Officer David Mack and his ties to Death Row Records, with some claiming he orchestrated the hit using the same black Chevy Impala spotted at the crime scene. Ex-LAPD Detective Russell Poole uncovered evidence pointing to police involvement before being removed from the case. His investigation revealed multiple officers moonlighting as security for Death Row Records while simultaneously investigating Tupac's death. Internal affairs suspiciously blocked key witnesses from being interviewed, and crucial evidence vanished from police storage. The most damning detail, the shooter's description matched Amir Muhammad, a close friend of Officer Mack. When Biggie's family filed a wrongful death lawsuit, the LAPD fought viciously to prevent internal documents from being released. Jay-Z time travel theory suggests the legendary rapper has existed across multiple time periods due to his striking resemblance to a man in a photograph from Harlem in 1939. The image taken by Sid Grossman shows a man on a stoop who looks eerily similar to Jay-Z, same facial structure, similar style, and nearly identical demeanor. This spawned wild speculation that Jay-Z either hasn't aged in over 80 years or has access to time travel technology kept hidden from the public. Believers point to lyrics in his songs that supposedly contain references to different time periods and historical knowledge no modern person should possess. Some versions of the theory connect Jay-Z to the Illuminati, claiming his time-jumping abilities are part of why he's accumulated such vast wealth and influence in the music industry. The conspiracy gained significant traction in 2013 when the photo circulated widely online, even prompting Jay-Z himself to reference it in lyrics. "I'm in Cuba, I love Mexicans, this uncomfortable, so I gotta get used to it," supposedly a nod to his discomfort with people discovering his secret. The real 50 Cent theory suggests that the rapper we know today is not the original Curtis Jackson, who was shot 9 times in 2000. Following the shooting incident, music industry executives allegedly replaced the severely injured original 50 Cent with a trained actor who could better serve as their puppet. Supporters point to subtle differences in facial features, voice tone, and mannerisms between pre-2000 and post-2000 appearances. The conspiracy gained traction when fans began comparing early photos and videos to his later appearances, noting what they believe are inconsistencies in his scars and physical build. Some even claim the original Curtis Jackson passed away from his injuries, but this was covered up to protect the valuable brand being built around his name. Theorists often highlight the rapper's dramatic physical transformation and his sudden rise to mainstream success as evidence of the switch. The theory suggests this replacement explains why 50 Cent transformed from a street-oriented artist to a polished entertainment mogul so quickly. Skeptics note that dramatic physical changes can be explained by natural aging, professional styling, and the effects of wealth and success. Nevertheless, this theory remains popular in certain corners of hip-hop conspiracy communities. MF Doom Body Doubles refers to the conspiracy that the masked rapper regularly sent imposters to perform at his concerts. The metal-faced villain of hip-hop was notorious for dispatching lookalikes wearing his signature mask to shows throughout his career, leaving fans to realize they'd paid to see a fake Doom. This wasn't just fan paranoia. Doom himself essentially confirmed this practice in interviews, viewing it as part of his villainous persona and a meta-commentary on identity. The imposters would lip-sync to pre-recorded tracks while mimicking his movements. Some fans claim to have witnessed obvious body doubles with different body types or heights than the real Doom. Concert footage analysis reveals inconsistent performers with varying physiques and stage presence across different shows. The conspiracy deepened after his passing when people speculated some final performances weren't actually him at all. Some believe the real Doom had stepped away from public life years before his death was announced. The body double conspiracy perfectly aligned with his comic book villain persona and mysterious image, making fans wonder if they ever saw the real man behind the mask. Gucci Mane died in prison is a conspiracy theory suggesting the real Gucci Mane passed away during his 2014 to 2016 incarceration and was replaced by a government clone or lookalike. Fans point to his dramatic physical transformation after release, losing significant weight, speaking more clearly, and appearing more healthy and focused. Believers note his ice cream face tattoo looked different post-prison, with some claiming it was completely removed and poorly redrawn. His behavior changed drastically too, switching from his previous aggressive persona to a calmer, more health-conscious individual who embraced sobriety. The theory gained traction when fellow rapper Waka Flocka Flame tweeted that Gucci Mane is not Gucci Mane in 2017. Some theorists claim the government replaced him to use his influence for mind control in the hip-hop community, pointing to how he suddenly promoted positive lifestyle changes. The most extreme version suggests multiple replacements have occurred since 2016, with supporters analyzing voice patterns, facial structure, and mannerisms across interviews to identify the supposed different Guccis. The Illuminati killed Nipsey Hussle theory centers on the rapper's death being orchestrated by secret powers rather than the official story of street violence. Nipsey was working on a documentary about Dr. Sebi, a controversial holistic healer who claimed to cure AIDS and cancer before dying under mysterious circumstances. Many believe powerful pharmaceutical companies and shadow organizations couldn't allow Nipsey to expose these natural cures to the world. Supporters point to unusual circumstances around his passing. The security cameras mysteriously malfunctioned that day. The official shooter, Eric Holder, had no clear motivation despite the gang-related narrative. The timing is what really makes people suspicious. Nipsey was becoming increasingly outspoken about government corruption, black empowerment, and economic independence from the system. Some theorists believe Nipsey discovered something during his Dr. Sebi research that powerful people needed to keep hidden. His elimination was allegedly ordered when he refused to be silenced. The Michael Jackson same person theory suggests that the king of pop was secretly the same individual as one of his sisters, either LaToya or Janet, switching between identities. This bizarre claim emerged in the late 1980s when the siblings underwent noticeable physical transformations. The LaToya version gained traction first, with conspiracy theorists pointing to their similar appearance changes, including lighter skin tone, refined facial features, and comparable hairstyles. Meanwhile, the Janet variation focuses on their similar vocal ranges, synchronized career timelines, and supposedly identical dance moves. Proponents argue that Michael created these alternate personas to express different aspects of his personality without public scrutiny. Believers note that Michael was rarely photographed together with either sister during peak periods, with LaToya after 1987 and with Janet during their greatest fame, suggesting that any joint images were manipulated. The theory gained momentum during periods when one sibling would retreat from public life while another became more visible, particularly when Janet's popularity surged just as Michael faced increasing scrutiny. Some fans analyze voice patterns, speaking mannerisms, and performance styles between the siblings, claiming they share uncanny similarities beyond normal family resemblance. The transformation theory suggests Michael's numerous surgeries weren't merely for aesthetic reasons, but to create distinct appearances for multiple personas. Of course, these theories completely ignore basic reality. Both sisters had their own careers, separate public appearances, and distinct lives apart from Michael. The mountain of evidence proving they're separate individuals includes countless joint appearances, simultaneous performances, and the simple biological impossibility of one person maintaining multiple full-time celebrity careers. Despite this, the conspiracy persists as one of the stranger claims in celebrity conspiracy lore. The Andrew W.K. replacement theory suggests that the real Andrew W.K. died or was removed early in his career and was replaced by an actor. Fans point to noticeable physical differences in his appearance between early performances and later ones, including changes to his nose structure, hairline, and even his height. The conspiracy gained traction when Andrew himself made cryptic statements about his identity in interviews, once saying he was not the same person who recorded his debut album. Some theorists believe a talent agency created the Andrew WK persona and simply swapped performers when necessary. Adding fuel to the conspiracy, Andrew WK has given contradictory accounts of his early life and musical background. His sometimes robotic performance style and unwavering commitment to his party-hard persona has led some to believe he's literally a character being played by different people. The theory reached new heights when concert footage emerged, showing what appeared to be multiple different Andrews during the same tour, with subtle but distinct differences in appearance, mannerisms, and performance style. Freddie Mercury AIDS hoax theory suggests the Queen frontman faked his death from AIDS in 1991 and has been living secretly in the United States. Believers point to alleged inconsistencies in his medical timeline, claiming Mercury disappeared from public view too quickly after his diagnosis. Some theorists maintain that Mercury grew tired of fame and orchestrated his passing as an elaborate exit strategy, with his band members supposedly helping maintain the deception over the decades. The theory gained momentum in the early 2000s when supposed Mercury sightings began circulating online, with conspiracy websites sharing blurry photos of men with mustaches claimed to be the singer living under an assumed identity. Proponents also question why few photographs exist of Mercury in his final months and why his burial location remains private, interpreting these privacy measures as evidence of subterfuge rather than respect. Of course, medical records, witness testimonies, and statements from those closest to Mercury thoroughly debunk these claims, but the theory persists as part of the darker side of celebrity mythology. Taylor Swift and Karlie Kloss were secretly dating. This conspiracy theory, known as Kaylor among fans, suggests that pop star Taylor Swift and supermodel Karlie Kloss maintained a hidden romantic relationship for years. The theory gained momentum during 2014 to 2016 when the pair were inseparable, attending events together and posting intimate photos on social media. Swift even gave Kloss a dedicated bedroom in her New York apartment, and they appeared together in a Vogue photo shoot that fans claim had romantic undertones. Their sudden and unexplained falling out around 2016 only fueled speculation, with theorists pointing to lyrics in Swift's songs Dress and Betty as coded references to Kloss. Devoted believers analyze everything from song lyrics to Instagram posts for evidence, claiming Swift's public relationships with men are carefully crafted PR arrangements to hide her true sexuality. The theory persists despite both women moving on, Kloss marrying Joshua Kushner, and Swift dating Joe Alwyn, and later Travis Kelce. The conspiracy remains one of music's most persistent secret relationship theories, with dedicated online communities still analyzing every interaction between the former friends for hidden meanings. The Demi Lovato, Selena Gomez, and Taylor Swift love triangle theory claims these three Disney-connected stars were caught in a secret romantic web that shaped their music and friendships for years. Fans point to cryptic lyrics in Swift's Bad Blood, supposedly targeting Gomez after she began spending time with Lovato around 2010. The theory suggests Swift developed feelings for Gomez during their close friendship, but Gomez was secretly involved with Lovato instead. Evidence includes the sudden cooling of Swift and Gomez's friendship, followed by Lovato and Gomez's own falling out. Conspiracy theorists analyze specific lyrics where each singer seemingly references betrayal by someone they trusted deeply. Some versions claim Swift's song Gorgeous contains hidden references to Gomez, while Lovato's Cool for the Summer allegedly hints at a same-sex relationship she kept hidden from the public. The most dedicated believers maintain this triangle explains years of mysterious social media posts, cryptic interview answers, and the periodic friendship breakdowns between all three women. Ken Carson is multiple people or a shapeshifter. Fans of the Opium label rapper have noticed dramatic physical changes between his performances and social media appearances. His voice has audibly shifted between recordings, with some tracks sounding completely different despite being released just weeks apart. Online communities have documented at least 3 distinct versions of Ken Carson since 2020, each with subtle differences in facial structure, height, and even tattoo placements. The most compelling evidence comes from concert footage where Ken appears to have different ear shapes and jawlines depending on the venue. Some believe he's actually a collective of similar-looking artists operating under one stage name to maintain constant content output. Others suggest something more supernatural, that the real Ken Carson can transform his appearance at will, explaining why witnesses report seeing him in different locations simultaneously. Label executives never address these inconsistencies directly, and Ken's social media accounts sometimes go dark precisely when these transitions supposedly occur. The Beyoncé celebrity killings theory emerged on TikTok, claiming the superstar is secretly involved in the deaths of other celebrities. This bizarre conspiracy suggests Beyoncé strategically eliminates industry rivals to maintain her position at the top of the entertainment world. Proponents point to coincidental timing between Beyoncé's career milestones and the passing of other musicians. They analyze her lyrics and music videos for supposed hidden messages acknowledging these actions. The theory gained traction during pandemic lockdowns when conspiracy content flourished on social media platforms. Despite having zero credible evidence, it spread through algorithmically recommended videos. Some versions connect it to larger Illuminati frameworks, where certain celebrities are believed to participate in dark rituals for continued success and fame. Marilyn Manson is the kid from the Wonder Years. This bizarre theory claims that shock rocker Marilyn Manson was actually Josh Saviano, the actor who played Paul Pfeiffer in the popular 80s TV show. The rumor spread widely in the pre-internet era when fans noticed some facial similarities between the nerdy TV character and the pale, gothic musician. The theory gained traction because Saviano disappeared from Hollywood after the show ended, fueling speculation about his transformation into the controversial rock star. In reality, Josh Saviano became a lawyer while Brian Warner was building his Marilyn Manson persona. The rumor persisted for years despite being easily disprovable, showing how celebrity identities become twisted in public imagination. Taylor Swift 4chan user is a conspiracy theory claiming that the pop superstar secretly browsed and posted on the anonymous image board. The theory gained traction when users noticed similarities between Swift's social media posts and specific 4chan threads. Evidence supporters point to includes time-stamped 4chan posts that seem to reveal album details before official announcements and photos of Swift's cat Meredith that matched images shared by an anonymous user. Some fans believe Swift used the platform to gauge honest fan reactions to her music away from the filtered bubble of mainstream social media. The most compelling proof came when a 4chan user claiming to be Swift posted a photo with a handwritten sign containing a specific phrase fans had requested as verification. While many dismissed it as an elaborate hoax, believers maintain that Swift's lyrics about internet culture and inside references in interviews suggest a deeper connection to anonymous online spaces than her carefully crafted public image allows. Whether true or manufactured, the theory persists because it represents the ultimate parasocial fantasy, that a global superstar might secretly interact with fans in the internet's most unfiltered spaces. The Lady Gaga killed Lou Reed conspiracy suggests pop star Lady Gaga was somehow involved in the death of rock legend Lou Reed in 2013. The theory emerged after fans noticed Gaga attended Reed's memorial service despite no clear public connection between the two artists. Conspiracy theorists point to Gaga's rise in artistic credibility around this time, claiming she absorbed Reed's musical essence through some sort of spiritual or literal sacrifice. Some versions suggest she needed his rock credibility to evolve her image from pop sensation to serious artist. The timing of Gaga's art pop album release, just weeks after Reed's passing, fueled speculation among believers. They note how her style shifted toward a more avant-garde approach following his death. Of course, the official cause of Reed's death was liver disease complications following a transplant. He was 71 years old and had documented health problems for years before his passing. Robert Johnson's deal with the devil conspiracy theory claims the legendary blues musician sold his soul at a Mississippi crossroads in exchange for his extraordinary guitar skills. Johnson was a mediocre musician who disappeared for a year, then returned with uncanny abilities that mystified witnesses. The transformation was so dramatic that people couldn't explain it through natural means. Johnson fueled these rumors through his lyrics about hellhounds, the devil, and making deals at crossroads. Johnson died young at 27, found on his hands and knees howling like a dog according to witnesses. Some claim this was the devil collecting his debt. The most compelling evidence is the drastic change in his playing ability. Recordings before and after his alleged deal showcase two seemingly different musicians. His influence on rock music is so profound that many wonder how one uneducated man from rural Mississippi could pioneer techniques still studied today. His entire musical catalog consists of only 29 recordings, yet his supernatural impact on music remains unmatched. Mama Cass and Keith Moon both died in the same apartment, creating one of rock's darkest coincidences. In London's Mayfair district, Flat 12 at 9 Curzon Place became known as a cursed location among music insiders. The apartment belonged to singer Harry Nilsson, who loaned it to friends. Mama Cass passed away there in 1974, with initial rumors claiming she choked on a sandwich, though this was later disproven. 4 years later, Who drummer Keith Moon took his final breath in the exact same bedroom after consuming a mixture of alcohol and prescription medication. The coincidence gets darker when you learn Moon was terrified of sleeping in that room after hearing about Cass's passing. Some believe negative energy accumulated in the space, while others point to the rock star lifestyle that consumed both performers. The apartment's reputation became so notorious that later resident Pete Townshend warned Nilsson to sell it immediately, claiming the place had bad energy that would continue to attract tragedy. Elvis Presley was deliberately filmed only from the waist up during his first appearance on The Ed Sullivan Show. Network executives were terrified of Elvis's notorious hip movements, which were considered far too sexual for 1950s television audiences. Parents and religious groups had already been outraged by his performances, calling his dancing vulgar and satanic. CBS decided they couldn't risk showing Elvis's full body on national television, so they specifically instructed camera operators to keep his lower half off-screen at all times. The censorship only made Elvis more popular. Teenagers across America knew exactly what the network was trying to hide, making his restricted performance feel like a rebellious act against the establishment. This waist-up filming approach wasn't just a one-time decision, it became standard practice for his early TV appearances, creating one of the first major instances of celebrity censorship in television history. The Ozzy Osbourne Bathead incident wasn't just a rock and roll stunt, some believe it was entirely staged for publicity. On January 20th, 1982, Ozzy bit the head off what he thought was a rubber bat thrown on stage in Des Moines, Iowa. The conspiracy suggests the whole thing was a calculated PR move to boost Ozzy's Prince of Darkness image after leaving Black Sabbath. Handlers allegedly planted the bat and instructed Ozzy to bite it, knowing the shocking act would generate massive publicity. The timing is suspicious. Ozzy's solo career needed momentum, and this incident immediately made international headlines. Despite Ozzy later claiming he needed rabies shots, no medical records have ever surfaced confirming this treatment. Some theorists point out that a real bat bite would have caused more serious health complications than Ozzy ever displayed. The most extreme version of this theory suggests the bat was actually made of candy or marzipan, explaining why Ozzy didn't immediately spit it out when he realized it wasn't rubber. Keith Richards' father's ashes centers on the Rolling Stones guitarist consuming his dead father's cremated remains. In 2007, Richards casually mentioned in an interview that he had mixed his father Bert's ashes with cocaine and snorted them. The rock star later clarified he didn't actually mix the ashes with drugs, but had accidentally spilled some while attempting to bury them under an oak tree. On impulse, he scooped up a bit and ingested it. Many fans believe Richards was telling the truth in his original statement, but backtracked due to backlash. The incident perfectly fits his larger-than-life persona as rock's ultimate survivor, despite decades of notorious substance abuse. Some speculate this wasn't a one-time event, but part of occult rituals Richards performs to maintain his seemingly supernatural longevity despite his lifestyle. The Kodak Black cloned theory centers on the rapper suddenly changing his appearance and behavior after his release from prison in 2021. Fans noticed dramatic differences in his facial features, voice tone, and mannerisms that seemed impossible to explain through normal means. Social media exploded with side-by-side comparisons, showing what appeared to be subtle differences in his tattoos, eye shape, and even his hairline. The theory suggests the original Kodak either passed away in prison or was replaced by government officials for unknown purposes. Supporters point to strange interviews where Kodak seems confused about past events from his own life and music catalog. His speech patterns and vocabulary reportedly shifted dramatically overnight. The most compelling evidence comes from concert footage where Kodak appears to glitch or malfunction mid-performance, suddenly stopping and staring blankly before continuing as if nothing happened. Industry insiders remain silent on these claims, which only fuels speculation that powerful forces are working to maintain this deception for reasons that remain unclear. The Mac Miller sacrifice theory claims the rapper's death wasn't an accidental overdose, but a ritualistic offering to the music industry. Fans point to symbolic imagery in his music videos and lyrics that supposedly predicted his fate months before it happened. His album Swimming, released just weeks before his death, contained what theorists call farewell messages hidden in plain sight. The track Self-Care featured Miller trapped in a coffin carving Memento Mori, Latin for "Remember you will die." Conspiracy circles believe Miller was reaching dangerous levels of creative freedom and artistic truth-telling that threatened industry control. His growing independence from mainstream influence allegedly marked him as a target. Some theorists connect his death to his relationship with Ariana Grande, suggesting their breakup was orchestrated to isolate him before his removal from the industry. The theory extends to timing. Miller's death occurred during a period when multiple other artists experienced career downfalls or public breakdowns, which conspiracists view as part of a larger industry cleansing operation. Evidence cited includes altered autopsy reports, missing security footage, and suspicious social media posts from industry figures that theorists claim contained coded acknowledgments of the sacrifice. This theory suggests that Tupac Shakur didn't actually die in 1996, but instead escaped to Navajo Nation territory, where he's been living in secret for decades. The theory claims that Tupac grew tired of the spotlight and death threats, orchestrating an elaborate plan to fake his passing in Las Vegas. Believers point to supposed sightings of Tupac on Navajo land, with some tribal members allegedly sheltering him and keeping his existence confidential. Some versions suggest he underwent facial reconstructive surgery, but still performs music privately for small gatherings on the reservation. The theory gained momentum when several photos emerged online purportedly showing an older Tupac with Navajo individuals, though these images have been widely debunked as photoshopped. Some adherents claim that Tupac's lyrics in songs like Life Goes On and Ain't Hard to Find contained coded messages about his planned disappearance and new life among indigenous people who would protect his identity. The Navajo connection specifically emerged because of the nation's sovereign status and remote locations that would allow someone to effectively disappear from mainstream society while still living within U.S. borders. Ye West is Ziggy Stardust. The theory suggests that Mr. West is actually carrying on David Bowie's alien persona from the 1970s. Believers point to West's increasingly eccentric behavior, fashion choices, and his self-proclaimed genius status as evidence of this cosmic connection. Some fans have noticed the timeline. Bowie's passing in 2016 coincided with West's most dramatic personality shift and mental health episodes. The theory proposes that Bowie, before his departure, somehow transferred the Ziggy consciousness to West. Both artists are known for constantly reinventing themselves and pushing boundaries in music. West's album Yeezus particularly draws comparisons to Bowie's work with its experimental sound and God-complex themes. The most dedicated believers cite West's statement that he's been sent here from another planet during concerts as a confession of his true Stardust identity rather than metaphorical artistic expression. What makes this theory particularly fascinating is how both artists created alter egos, Ziggy for Bowie and various personas for West, blurring the line between performance and reality. The Birdman murders conspiracy theory suggests that Cash Money Records co-founder Brian "Birdman" Williams has ordered hits on multiple people in the music industry to maintain power and control. This theory gained traction after several associates of Cash Money Records died under mysterious circumstances throughout the label's history. Supporters point to Birdman's known connections to street gangs and his rise from poverty to music mogul as evidence of his willingness to eliminate threats. The conspiracy intensified when former Hot Boys member Turk claimed in interviews that Birdman and his brother Slim would handle people who crossed them. Some theorists connect these allegations to the unsolved shootings of various New Orleans rappers who had disputes with the label. Industry insiders have noted Birdman's intimidating presence and business tactics that some describe as predatory. His infamous hand-rubbing gesture is interpreted by conspiracy believers as a signal of his calculating nature. The theory extends to allegations that certain artists were kept under contract through threats rather than legitimate business practices, creating what some call a music industry prison. Despite numerous accusations over decades, no concrete evidence has ever linked Birdman directly to any killings, and he has consistently denied any involvement in criminal activity beyond his early life. This theory claims that Kanye West's famous 2002 car accident was staged or exaggerated to generate publicity for his debut album. In October 2002, he supposedly fell asleep while driving and crashed his car, resulting in a broken jaw that had to be wired shut. This led to the creation of his breakthrough single, "Through the Wire," which he recorded with his jaw still wired shut. The conspiracy suggests the timing was too perfect, a dramatic, life-threatening event that created the perfect narrative hook just as his solo career was launching. Believers point to inconsistencies in the accident reports and the convenient way it created his underdog story. Some theorists claim the medical recovery timeline doesn't match up with his public appearances, while others suggest the injuries were real but significantly embellished for marketing purposes. The lack of police documentation and witness accounts accessible to the public has only fueled speculation that this career-defining moment was manufactured by the music industry to launch his solo career with a compelling backstory. The Jonas Brothers are aliens theory suggests that Nick, Joe, and Kevin Jonas are extraterrestrial beings disguised as humans to infiltrate Earth through the music industry. Their meteoric rise to fame in the mid-2000s happened suspiciously fast, with Disney Channel serving as their vehicle to worldwide recognition. Conspiracy theorists point to their seemingly perfect harmonies and synchronization during performances as evidence they share a telepathic connection impossible for humans. Their unchanging appearances over years raised questions, with some believing they use advanced alien technology to maintain their youthful looks. Online forums highlight evidence, including unusual pupils that sometimes appear to reflect light differently in certain photographs, and the brothers' occasional slip-ups in interviews where they reference events or places not known to exist on Earth. The theory gained traction when fans noticed the brothers' brief disappearance from the public eye coincided with increased UFO sightings near their hometown. Their subsequent reunion and comeback was interpreted as their mothership summoning them back to continue their mission of collecting human behavioral data through their fan base. Devoted conspiracy followers even analyzed their song lyrics for hidden messages, claiming certain tracks contain coordinates to meeting points for fellow aliens or coded instructions for world domination. The Michael Cera time travel theory suggests the actor has been secretly using time travel technology to maintain his career. Fans point to his unchanging appearance over decades and his ability to perfectly capture the awkward teenage persona despite being in his 30s. Some theorists believe Cera discovered time travel during the filming of Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, where he reportedly disappeared from set for hours at a time with no explanation. The theory gained traction when internet sleuths found historical photographs from different eras featuring men with striking resemblances to Cira. One image from 1920s New York shows a street performer with the same distinctive facial features. Further fueling speculation is Cira's sporadic public appearances and lengthy gaps between projects. These disappearances align suspiciously well with significant historical events, leading some to believe he's witnessing history firsthand. Critics of the theory highlight the genetic condition that likely contributes to Cira's youthful appearance, but supporters maintain this explanation is too convenient and simply covers up the truth. John Frusciante and River Phoenix conspiracy claims the Red Hot Chili Peppers guitarist was involved in Phoenix's death outside the Viper Room in 1993. The theory suggests Frusciante, who was deep into heroin addiction at the time, supplied Phoenix with an extremely potent drug cocktail that caused his fatal overdose. Supporters of this theory point to Frusciante's own statements about his dark period, where he openly discussed wanting to destroy himself and others around him. Phoenix had reportedly gone to the club specifically to see Frusciante perform. The most sinister version suggests Frusciante knew exactly how dangerous the mixture was, but gave it to Phoenix anyway. Adding fuel to the speculation, Frusciante reportedly disappeared from the scene when Phoenix began convulsing on the sidewalk, and some claim he was never properly investigated. While official reports attribute Phoenix's death to a speedball mixture, this theory persists in the darker corners of Hollywood lore, connecting two icons of 90s alternative culture through tragedy. David Geffen killed his own biographer. The conspiracy centers on Tom King, who wrote the unauthorized biography, The Operator, about the powerful music and film mogul. After publishing the revealing book in 2000, King mysteriously vanished from the publishing world. The theory suggests Geffen, with his immense Hollywood connections and influence, blacklisted King from the industry. Some versions go further, claiming King was threatened or worse when he uncovered too many of Geffen's secrets. King's book exposed Geffen's ruthless business tactics and personal relationships that the billionaire preferred to keep private. After publication, King never wrote another major work. What makes this theory persist is Geffen's notorious reputation for destroying careers of those who cross him. His network spans music, film, and politics, perfect for silencing threats. Though King is actually still alive and simply left journalism, conspiracy theorists point to the suspicious timing of his career change immediately following the biography's release. The reality behind closed doors of Hollywood power remains hidden from public view, leaving room for these dark theories to flourish in the shadows of celebrity culture. The Hollywood Cabal theory claims that A-list celebrities belong to a secret society practicing dark rituals and harming children. This conspiracy gained mainstream attention around 2016 through social media platforms where anonymous posters claim to have inside information about Hollywood elites. The theory suggests that many famous actors, musicians, and media moguls participate in these activities to maintain their status in the entertainment industry. Proponents point to alleged symbols in music videos, movie scenes, and red carpet photos as evidence of celebrity involvement. Some versions of this theory connect to broader conspiracy frameworks involving government officials and wealthy business figures across the globe. What makes this conspiracy particularly sticky is how it combines existing suspicions about Hollywood's moral character with classic elements of moral panic. The theory gained significant traction during periods of political division and social media algorithm changes. Harley Pasternak and the MK Ultra celebrity control conspiracy suggests that celebrity trainer Pasternak uses mind control techniques on his high-profile clients. The theory gained traction after Kanye West shared text messages from Pasternak that some interpreted as threatening, with Pasternak allegedly writing he would have West institutionalized again and medicated until he became zombie Ye. Conspiracy theorists point to Pasternak's background, claiming he has connections to defense research and psychiatric experimentation. They note his master's degree in exercise physiology and nutritional sciences supposedly included research for the Canadian military. Proponents believe Pasternak serves as a handler for celebrities like West, Megan Fox, and Lady Gaga, keeping them compliant with industry demands through methods reminiscent of CIA mind control programs from the 1950s. The theory gained further momentum during West's public meltdowns and controversial statements, with some believing his erratic behavior represented attempts to break free from Pasternak's control. Critics dismiss these claims as unfounded speculation that misinterprets the professional relationship between a fitness coach and his clients, exploiting West's documented mental health struggles for sensationalist narratives. Anne Heche's death conspiracies encompass a web of bizarre theories that emerged after the actress crashed her car into a Los Angeles home in August 2022. The incident sparked immediate speculation when footage showed Heche thrashing on a stretcher while being loaded into an ambulance, with many believing she was trying to escape. Some theorists claim Heche was actually targeted for elimination because she was working on a film about child trafficking called The Girl in Room 13. This timing struck conspiracy circles as too convenient, suggesting powerful forces silenced her before the film's release. Other theories point to Heche's strange final interview where she appeared to drink vodka on a podcast just before her crash. Conspiracy communities suggest this was either staged or evidence of mind control, particularly given her history with Hollywood's elite circles. The most extreme theories connect her death to her past relationship with Ellen DeGeneres, suggesting Heche possessed dangerous knowledge about Hollywood's inner workings that needed to be contained. Some theorists focus on the bizarre circumstances of the crash itself, how her car reached such speeds on a residential street, the fire's unusual intensity, and the reported 90-minute extraction time despite first responders being on scene much earlier. The medical examiner's findings that no alcohol was present in her system despite media reports fueled further speculation about narrative manipulation and cover-ups extending to the highest levels of entertainment and politics. The Stephen King killed John Lennon conspiracy claims that horror author Stephen King was the real shooter who ended John Lennon's life in 1980, not Mark David Chapman. This fringe theory suggests that King was part of a government plot orchestrated by Richard Nixon and Ronald Reagan to eliminate Lennon for his anti-war influence. Proponents point to supposed physical similarities between King and Chapman and claim that published photos of King from that time frame were manipulated to create alibis. They insist King's novel Rage contains coded confessions about the crime. The conspiracy gained traction through persistent campaigning by a man named Steve Lightfoot, who drives a van covered in messages about the theory and maintains a website dedicated to exposing King as Lennon's killer. Despite zero credible evidence supporting these claims, Lightfoot continues his decades-long crusade, occasionally appearing at King's public events to protest. Love Roller Coaster Scream is one of music's most enduring urban legends. During the Ohio Players' 1975 funk hit Love Roller Coaster, a high-pitched scream can be heard around the 2:32 mark. The theory claims this wasn't a planned sound effect, but the actual death cry of a woman being killed in the studio while the band continued recording. Some versions of the theory suggest it was the model from the album cover who had been severely burned by honey used during the photo shoot. She supposedly came to the studio demanding compensation and was silenced permanently, with her final moments captured on tape. The band never removed the scream despite re-releases, fueling speculation. Radio DJs in the 70s spread the rumor, and it gained new life when featured in a 1990s Beavis and Butthead episode. In reality, the scream came from keyboard player Billy Beck, but the theory persists decades later as a perfect example of how pre-internet rumors could spread through music culture. Debby Harry may have met Ted Bundy. The Blondie frontwoman claims she narrowly escaped the notorious serial killer in the early 1970s in New York City. Harry says she accepted a ride from a strange man in a white car who she later recognized as Bundy from news reports. When Harry got into the vehicle, she noticed something was wrong. There were no door handles or window cranks on the passenger side. She claimed she escaped by reaching through the partially open window and opening the door from the outside. Some doubt this encounter ever happened, as Bundy wasn't known to be in New York during this period, and his killing spree primarily took place in Washington, Utah, Colorado, and Florida. Skeptics suggest Harry may have confused Bundy with another killer, or that the traumatic memory formed after seeing Bundy's widespread media coverage during his trials. The CIA allegedly wrote a Scorpions song, Wind of Change. The hit power ballad released in 1990 became an anthem for the fall of the Soviet Union and the end of the Cold War. What many don't know is that intelligence experts have suggested this song wasn't actually written by the German rock band, but was instead crafted by the CIA as propaganda. The theory gained traction after journalist Patrick Radden Keefe investigated rumors that American intelligence operatives had penned the iconic track as a psychological operation. The song's timing was suspiciously perfect, released right as the Berlin Wall fell and Soviet power collapsed. Scorpions frontman Klaus Meine has consistently denied these claims, maintaining he wrote the song after the band's performance at the Moscow Music Peace Festival in 1989. Nevertheless, the CIA has a documented history of cultural influence operations during the Cold War, funding abstract art, literary magazines, and other cultural projects to counter Soviet influence. The song's massive success, over 14 million copies sold worldwide, would have made it an exceptionally effective piece of propaganda if the conspiracy holds true. Whether genuine artistic inspiration or covert operation, Wind of Change undeniably became one of the most powerful musical symbols of political transformation in the 20th century. Kurt Cobain's alleged Ren and Stimpy theme song is a persistent rumor that the Nirvana frontman secretly composed music for the popular 90s cartoon. The theory claims Cobain wrote and recorded an unused theme song for the show during the height of his fame. Fans point to Cobain's known appreciation for animation and his experimental sound as evidence for this hidden collaboration. Show creator John Kricfalusi never confirmed this connection, which only deepened the mystery. Some believe the recording exists in a vault somewhere, while others suggest it was destroyed after Cobain's self-deletion in 1994. The timing does align suspiciously well. Nirvana's rise to fame coincided perfectly with Ren and Stimpy's popularity on Nickelodeon. Cobain was known to enjoy unconventional art forms, making this secret side project entirely possible in the minds of conspiracy theorists. No audio has ever surfaced to prove this theory correct, but believers insist that certain instrumental segments in unreleased Nirvana demos contain elements that would have fit perfectly with the cartoon's bizarre aesthetic. Phil Collins' In the Air Tonight is said to be about Phil witnessing a man drowning while another person refused to help. The legend claims Collins later spotted the negligent bystander at one of his concerts and publicly shamed them by performing the song and shining a spotlight on them. This dark tale suggests Collins wrote the haunting 1981 hit after witnessing a tragic incident where someone could have saved a drowning victim but chose not to intervene. The conspiracy gained massive popularity in the pre-internet era, spreading by word of mouth across generations. Many swear they heard the story directly from someone who attended the concert where Collins exposed the culprit. In reality, Collins has repeatedly explained the lyrics were improvised during a difficult period following his divorce, but the urban legend persists despite his denials. The power of the song's atmospheric production and emotional vocals made it easy for listeners to attach a dramatic narrative to its creation. The Elvira on Tom Waits' album cover rumor suggests that horror hostess Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, secretly appeared on Tom Waits' 1983 album Swordfish Trombones as the mysterious woman in the background. The theory points to the shadowy female figure with dramatic makeup visible behind Waits in the dimly lit cover photo. Fans claim her distinctive silhouette and facial structure match Cassandra Peterson before she fully developed her Elvira character. What makes this theory particularly intriguing is the timing. Peterson was working various Hollywood gigs during this period, and Waits was known for collaborating with unusual characters from the entertainment fringe. Neither Waits nor Peterson have ever confirmed this connection, adding to the mystery. Music industry insiders who worked on the album packaging have remained suspiciously silent when questioned about the woman's identity over the years. The rumor gained traction in underground music forums in the early 2000s when enhanced digital scans of the album artwork began circulating, allowing fans to examine details previously obscured in the original pressing. Some collectors claim certain European vinyl pressings used a slightly different crop of the photo, revealing more of the woman's distinctive features that more closely resemble Peterson. The disappearance of Richie Edwards centers on the Manic Street Preachers guitarist who vanished without a trace in 1995. His car was found abandoned near the Severn Bridge, a notorious location for self-deletion, but no body was ever recovered despite extensive searches. Edwards withdrew cash from his bank account every day for 2 weeks before disappearing, suggesting careful planning rather than a spontaneous act. Hotel staff reported he was calmly removing items from his room in the early morning hours. Numerous sightings of Edwards emerged after his disappearance. Taxi drivers claimed to have picked him up near the bridge and driven him to various locations. Fans reported spotting him in places like Goa, India, and the Canary Islands, always disappearing before authorities could investigate. Some believe Edwards staged his disappearance to escape fame and now lives under a new identity somewhere remote. His passport was never used after his disappearance, fueling theories he established a new life within the UK rather than abroad. The timing near his 28th birthday sparked theories about him avoiding the 27 Club, the age at which many famous musicians have died. Unlike other cases, Edwards left no concrete farewell note or definitive clues about his intentions. Despite being legally declared dead in 2008, many remain convinced Edwards is still alive, pointing to the lack of physical evidence confirming his death. The death of Bobby Fuller conspiracy revolves around the mysterious circumstances of the rock musician's demise in 1966. Fuller was found dead in his car outside his Hollywood apartment, drenched in gasoline with bruises on his body and chest. The official ruling was self-deletion by asphyxiation from gasoline, yet no one could explain why Fuller would choose such a painful method or why he had defensive wounds. The autopsy report mysteriously disappeared, and key witnesses were never properly interviewed. Some theories link Fuller's death to organized crime connections within the music industry. Others suggest his record label associates wanted him eliminated after he tried to break his contract. Fuller was at the height of his career with his hit "I Fought the Law" when he suddenly died. His body was reportedly badly decomposed despite being found just hours after he was last seen alive. The case remains officially unsolved almost 6 decades later. Nicki Minaj does not exist is a conspiracy theory claiming that the rapper is actually a carefully crafted AI persona created by the music industry. This bizarre theory suggests that her distinctive voice, constantly evolving appearance, and seemingly superhuman rap skills are evidence she's not a real person, but rather an advanced hologram or digital creation. Proponents point to her numerous alter egos like Roman Zelensky and Harajuku Barbie as glitches in her programming. They claim her rapid style changes and voice modulations between songs are impossible for a human performer. The theory gained traction when fans noticed supposed rendering errors in her music videos, moments where her movements appeared slightly unnatural, or her features seemed to shift. Some believers insist that if you analyze her vocal patterns across her career, you'll find mathematical consistencies that no human could maintain. They claim the music industry created her to test market reaction to an artificial celebrity before rolling out more synthetic stars. The most extreme version suggests that multiple actresses have played Nicki at different points, with advanced voice modulation technology maintaining the consistent sound while her physical appearance changes dramatically over time. Ice Cube is QAnon suggests the famous rapper and actor is secretly the mastermind behind the QAnon movement. Conspiracy theorists point to Ice Cube's social media posts containing cryptic messages and anti-establishment themes as proof of his involvement. Some believers claim Ice Cube's 1990s lyrics contain predictive programming about government corruption that later formed QAnon's core beliefs. They highlight his 2018 tweets criticizing both political parties and his sharing of controversial memes as evidence he was dropping Q-like hints. The theory gained traction when Ice Cube met with the Trump administration about his contract with Black America. Theorists interpreted this meeting as a covert operation between Q forces. Online forums dissect Ice Cube's movie roles for hidden meanings, particularly his character in 21 Jump Street, who infiltrates a system from within, supposedly mirroring Q's claimed government insider status. Most interesting is the fact that he's recently been on several podcasts, describing himself as being out of the club. The theory persists in fringe internet communities where his celebrity status makes him the perfect candidate for an influential puppet master pulling strings behind America's most notorious conspiracy movement. DMX Demons centers on the belief that rapper DMX was possessed by demonic entities throughout his career. Fans point to his signature barking and growling as evidence of supernatural influence rather than artistic choice. His 1998 track Damien describes making a deal with a demonic entity, which conspiracy theorists claim was autobiographical confession rather than creative storytelling. The song's sequels, The Omen and Damien III, only deepened these suspicions. DMX's well-documented struggles with substances further fueled the demon possession narrative. During interviews, he often spoke of feeling another presence take over during performances, which theorists interpreted literally. His intense physical performances, where he would sometimes convulse or move erratically on stage, were seen as evidence of demonic manifestation rather than passionate showmanship. In reality, DMX was open about his Christian faith and spiritual battles. He frequently discussed his internal struggles through his art, but conspiracy theorists transformed his metaphorical demons into literal supernatural entities, controlling his career and ultimately contributing to his early passing in 2021. XXXTentacion Prophecies centers on the belief that the rapper predicted his own death through his music and social media posts. Fans point to his Instagram Live video where he talked about wanting his message to be heard if he left the earth. His song, Sad, released a music video posthumously showing X attending his own funeral and fighting his deceased self. The number 17 appears repeatedly in X's life and work. His breakthrough album was titled 17, and some believe this was a coded message about his lifespan. He died at age 20, but conspiracy theorists claim the number held spiritual significance to him. Some believers point to X's lyrics in songs like Before I Close My Eyes, where he raps about death and his legacy. These supposed prophecies gained traction after his passing when fans began analyzing his catalog for hidden messages. The most extreme version of this theory suggests X was part of the 27 Club conspiracy, but died earlier to subvert expectations. X's frequent discussions of mortality and spirituality in his music fueled these theories, with many fans believing he possessed a heightened spiritual awareness that allowed him to sense his impending fate. Juice WRLD Devil Pact is the theory that the rapper traded his soul for fame and success in the music industry. Followers of this conspiracy point to his meteoric rise to stardom and his lyrics that frequently referenced death and dying young. The theory gained momentum after his passing at age 21 in December 2019. Conspiracy theorists note his song Legends, where he raps about not making it past 21, which eerily came true. Some believers claim his record label Interscope has connections to occult practices, pointing to other artists on the label who also died young. The most extreme version suggests his seizure at Chicago's Midway Airport was the collection of his soul at the exact moment his contract expired. Believers also cite his fascination with the number 999, which he claimed represented reversing evil, as secretly being an inverted 666, the number associated with dark forces. Despite these theories, most recognize Juice WRLD simply as a talented artist who struggled with substance issues and spoke openly about his demons through his music. This entry is titled Sierra Has a Huge Dick. This rumor blew up in the early 2000s when a false claim spread that the pop singer was born intersex or secretly had male genitals. The theory came from a mix of online gossip and tabloid rumors, especially during a time when she was gaining fame fast and still mysterious to the public. One common claim was that she revealed this on Oprah, but there is no actual footage or evidence of that ever happening. The Oprah episode in question doesn't exist, but the story kept getting repeated online. Some conspiracy theorists say the rumor was part of a planned humiliation ritual tied to the entertainment industry, one of many used to break down or control rising stars. Others tie it into deeper ideas about celebrities being selected or created to push hidden agendas around identity and gender. Beyoncé's surrogate mother theory claims that the superstar faked her pregnancy with Blue Ivy and secretly used a surrogate mother instead. This conspiracy exploded after a 2011 Australian TV interview where Beyoncé's baby bump appeared to collapse and fold inward as she sat down, making believers claim she was wearing a prosthetic pregnancy belly. The rumor gained serious momentum when a witness claimed to have seen Beyoncé's bump shift unnaturally during a public appearance. Some theorists point to the singer's seemingly inconsistent bump size in different appearances, and how quickly she returned to her pre-pregnancy physique. Fueling the fire further was the hospital reportedly paying $1.3 million to seal off an entire floor for the birth, with unusual security measures including taping over security cameras and forcing staff to turn in phones at the door. Despite Beyoncé repeatedly denying these claims and calling them stupid, ridiculous, and false, the conspiracy lives on in some corners of the internet, where theorists continue analyzing photos and footage looking for evidence of the alleged deception. This theory connects the singer Aaliyah to aviation pioneer Amelia Earhart through cosmic coincidence. Both women died in aviation incidents decades apart. Earhart disappeared over the Pacific in 1937, while Aaliyah passed in a 2001 plane crash in the Bahamas. Supporters point to their similar names, Aaliyah Houghton and Amelia Earhart, and their shared passion for breaking boundaries in male-dominated fields. Even more eerie, both women were known for their distinctive style and fierce independence. The theory gained traction online when fans noticed both women even share similar facial features and expressions in certain photographs. Some conspiracy theorists believe Earhart's soul waited decades before reincarnating as the vocal princess. Deeper versions of the theory suggest the universe purposely created this cosmic loop, a pioneering aviator reborn as a star who would ultimately meet her fate in the skies again. This theory merges spirituality, celebrity culture, and cosmic coincidence into a haunting tale of two trailblazing women connected across time. Missy Elliott demon conjuring has become one of hip-hop's most persistent occult conspiracy theories. The acclaimed rapper and producer is claimed to perform demonic rituals before recording sessions and performances to enhance her creative abilities and success. Theorists point to her music videos featuring unusual imagery, mirrors, backward movements, and distorted visuals as evidence of these supernatural connections. Her song Pass That Dutch particularly fuels these rumors with its visual references some interpret as occult symbolism. The theory gained traction in certain religious circles where critics analyzed her lyrics for hidden messages and claimed her distinctive sound effects and vocal manipulations were meant to mask subliminal content. Industry insiders supposedly witnessed strange occurrences in studios during her recording sessions, with equipment malfunctioning and unusual temperature changes reported. This theory suggests that Rihanna is possessed or controlled by an otherworldly entity known as Rain Man that dictates her career moves and creative output. This entity allegedly entered her life shortly before her rapid rise to fame and explains her sometimes erratic behavior and sudden style changes. Fans point to her 2007 song Umbrella as the moment when the possession occurred, noting the strange vocal effects and the repeated Ella Ella as a form of incantation. The music video's metallic body paint and dark imagery supposedly represent her transformation. The Rain Man entity is believed to be the same force that controls other major artists, with industry insiders using this term as code for the controlling presence that turns promising artists into worldwide superstars. During her 2016 performance at Wembley Stadium, Rihanna appeared to glitch on stage, freezing mid-performance for several seconds before continuing. Believers cite this as evidence of the entity temporarily losing control of its host. Multiple former staff members have reportedly witnessed Rihanna speaking in tongues and addressing an invisible presence in her dressing room before performances, though all were required to sign extensive NDAs. The theory connects to the broader Hollywood mind control conspiracy, where celebrities display certain symbols or gestures to signal their handler that they require reprogramming when the entity's control begins to slip. This theory suggests that Canadian rapper Drake orchestrated the murder of XXXTentacion in 2018. This theory emerged from a public feud between the two artists that began when fans noticed similarities between Drake's song KMT and X's breakout hit Look at Me. The beef intensified with diss tracks and social media jabs. X once posted on Instagram, "If anyone tries to kill me, it was Drake," which conspiracy theorists point to as foreshadowing. Some believe Drake hired hitmen to eliminate a rising competitor. They note the timing. X was gaining massive popularity and had just resolved other feuds when he was shot in Florida. Theorists also highlight Drake's alleged connections to street figures and claim suspicious social media activity from his camp around the time of the incident. Despite these claims, official investigations never connected Drake to the crime, and 4 suspects with no known ties to the Canadian rapper were arrested for the robbery turned homicide. The Kanye West Truman Show theory suggests that Kanye's entire life is a staged reality production similar to the film The Truman Show. Believers claim that powerful music industry figures have been orchestrating major events in Kanye's life since his career began, creating controversies and public breakdowns purely for entertainment value and profit. The theory points to Kanye's erratic behavior, sudden genre shifts, and public outbursts as evidence that he's being manipulated behind the scenes. Some versions suggest Kanye became aware of this manipulation during his 2016 hospitalization, which explains his increasingly paranoid statements about the media and industry executives. Proponents highlight how Kanye's most controversial moments conveniently generate maximum publicity for upcoming projects. His marriage to Kim Kardashian is viewed as part of the production, a carefully planned union between 2 highly marketable celebrities. The most extreme believers claim Kanye has attempted to break free from this control multiple times, with his religious pivot being his latest attempt to escape the influence of his supposed handlers. Erykah Badu passionfruit refers to the strange theory that the neo-soul singer can alter the taste of passion fruit through psychic energy. Fans started noticing that passion fruits purchased near venues where Badu performed seemed to taste sweeter and more intense than normal. This phenomenon gained traction after a 2018 backstage interview where Badu offhandedly mentioned her connection to tropical fruits. Social media erupted with fans posting videos testing passion fruits before and after her concerts. The theory expanded when people claimed Badu's album Baduism contains subliminal frequencies that enhance fruit ripening when played near produce. Some devoted followers even leave passion fruits on their speakers while playing her music. Several small organic farms have reportedly started playing Badu's music in their passion fruit groves, claiming noticeable improvements in yield and flavor. What makes this conspiracy particularly interesting is Badu's own cryptic responses when questioned about it, including a tweet that simply read, "The fruit knows," followed by a passion fruit emoji. Lil Bow Wow limo tapes refers to secret recordings allegedly made inside the rapper's limousine during the height of his fame in the early 2000s. These tapes supposedly capture the entertainer, then a child star, being coached and controlled by music industry executives on everything from his public persona to his lyrics and performances. The conspiracy suggests these recordings reveal the darker side of child stardom, with adults dictating every aspect of his career and image while he was just a young teenager. Some versions of the theory claim the tapes contain evidence of the rapper being forced to maintain his childlike image even as he grew older. Industry insiders have hinted that multiple copies of these recordings exist in private collections, though none have ever surfaced publicly. The theory gained new life when the entertainer made cryptic comments in interviews about feeling like a puppet during his early career. The most extreme versions of this conspiracy suggest the tapes contain evidence of psychological manipulation techniques used on young stars to ensure compliance with industry demands. The Beyoncé Stem Cell Project refers to the theory that the superstar maintains her flawless appearance and energy through secret stem cell treatments unavailable to the public. Supposedly, Beyoncé has invested millions in a private research facility that harvests rare cellular material to create personalized rejuvenation therapies. The conspiracy gained traction when fans noticed her seemingly ageless appearance despite her grueling performance schedule and multiple pregnancies. Some believe she's been visiting a secretive Swiss clinic between tours where the treatments take place over several days. The most extreme version claims these aren't just beauty treatments, but complete cellular regeneration sessions using technology decades ahead of what's publicly acknowledged by medical science. Theorists point to unusual gaps in her touring schedule that coincide with her supposed treatment windows and the strict privacy surrounding her medical information as evidence of the cover-up. While mainstream doctors dismiss this as nonsense, believers maintain that elite celebrities have access to medical breakthroughs the general public won't see for generations. 50 Cent shot himself is a conspiracy theory suggesting the rapper's famous 2000 shooting incident was actually self-inflicted for publicity. The official story goes that 50 Cent was shot 9 times outside his grandmother's house in Queens by an unknown assailant, miraculously surviving in what became his origin story as a rapper. The conspiracy claims he orchestrated the shooting to elevate his street credibility and jumpstart his career, pointing to inconsistencies in the shooting account and the perfect timing before his rise to fame. Supporters note how the shooting transformed him from an unknown artist to a rap sensation with an unbeatable backstory. Critics of the theory highlight the severity of his injuries, which included a bullet fragment in his tongue and extensive facial reconstruction. Some industry insiders have whispered that certain elements of the shooting story were embellished, but few believe he would risk his life for fame.